boss had his leave cancelled twice on the trot, as Shoreside couldn't find a replacement, and time was now running out. International law dictates that officers and crew members could not work more than 10 months without a break. The boss only had a week till his limit was exceeded. I was sat in the entertainment office doing some paperwork, then the phone began to ring. The boss wasn't here, so I automatically picked up the phone. Production office, I said. "Hi, Bob," the lady said. No, this isn't Bob. He's away from his desk. Can I take a message?" I said. "Yes, please. Can you say that Jenny from Rotations called to say that we are sending a replacement in 7 days' time?" said Jenny. "Cool, I shall pass on the message." I kept the handset in my hand and dialed up the production manager's pager. The phone rang. "Production office," I said. "Hi, Bob. Yeah, base phone. They're sending you a replacement in 7 days. I paused. "Don't know." Pause. "Don't know." Pause. "Jenny from Rotations." Pause. "Cool. Catch you in a bit." Bob didn't need too much time to prepare a handover. He had one ready to go months ago. All we had to do was update it with the most up-to-date passwords and the most recent current affairs in regards to the production team. The next week flew fast for Bob as his attitude and demeanour dramatically changed. He just knew that he was going home and now nothing would stop him. Bob let rule infractions slide as he no longer cared. Once he was home and rested, he would be done with working at sea. He had a new job working in head office doing the land-based decision-making of our production department. Because of this change of job, he simply could not say no to the contract extension request after extension request. Bob's replacement was due the next day. Bob was the happiest I've ever seen. He was all packed up, and his desk was the cleanest I've ever seen it since the hotel restructure, where the production manager had become a non-active and office-based position. Before the restructure, the production manager was based in the theatre's control room. The non-active status is due to the standardisation through the fleet, as on smaller ships the production manager was expected to operate a technical function on the theatre shows. This is normally the stage automation systems, but now all the production managers were now here to simply manage the crew. The ships that needed the extra technicians were given them. Like with any rotation swap out with the crew that no one knew, it became a tradition to ask around the fleet if anyone had worked with the replacement, so we could try and find out what they were like to work with. It turned out that Bob's replacement was a new-to-sea production manager. This was going to be interesting as no one knew him. It's very rare to get a new-to-sea production manager, as the majority of the managers were there through promotion. I was in the office when the email was received by Bob. The computer screen was picked up and hurled across the room. Cables and the tower unit travelled in tow. They all bounced across the deck and it came to a stop in a heap. The entertainment team was at the far side of the office having a meeting at the time. I went over to Bob and pulled out my packet of cigarettes, pulled out one and put it in his gob. I lit it. I knew it's illegal to smoke inside these days, but this situation couldn't be calmed down by any other way. Bob took a few drags on the cigarette, then stubbed it out on the desk. He handed me his pager and took a walk out of the office. I knew that this outburst could only be down to one thing, that he wasn't going to go home when he was supposed to. I started to pick up the damaged equipment so I could assess or repair bits so the computer could be used again. The entertainment team was stood around looking in shock. The entertainment manager came over to me and lightly grabbed my arm and whispered to me, "He isn't going home tomorrow, is he?" "No," I said. "Until further notice, I'm going to babysit till he's ready to come back, be it later today or tomorrow. Once I've gone through this heap of shit, I'll try and find him. Just tell everyone to stay out of his way, okay?" The entertainment manager nodded and went back to his team, and I continued to salvage what I could of the computer. Later that day, I searched high and low to try and find Bob. He wasn't in his cabin, he wasn't in any of the public areas. I checked the crew bar and I checked the deck, but he wasn't there. I went back towards the office and cut through the theatre. He wasn't hanging around the stage or the dressing room. He wasn't sitting on the automation perch. I went across the stage and I heard, "Oi, look up." I looked up on the grid and I could see Bob. I had a double take across the stage, but couldn't see any of the 6 pull-down ladders to the grid. None of them were down. I went over to the stage left wing and grabbed the ladder hook. I went back to the stage left middle ladder, sent the hook into the air and pulled down the ladder. I secured it to the floor and then returned the hook to its home. I returned to the ladder and tested it by forcefully yanking it up, but it didn't move. This was good, so I began to climb up. I reached the top and climbed over the gantry that we nicknamed Deck 13. Deck 13 doesn't exist in reality, as it's a superstition, so in reality the deck numbers jump from Deck 12 to Deck 14 on the ship's lifts and stairwell. We called our gantry Deck 13 because its position is exactly in between Deck 12 and Deck 14. Bob was smoking and had a bottle of vodka with him. I pulled the ladder up so I could be on my own for a while. I was going to page you from the phone on the wall, but look, he said as he pointed to the wall. The phone was missing. The wall mounting was there, and so was the phone cable, but not the phone. I'm guessing, he said with a smirk on his chops, I'm guessing you nicked it at some point, as you're the only one that ever comes up here. You've guessed right, I said. So what happened to it? Because I got stuck up here because you nicked the pissing phone, he said. I chuckled. You got stuck up here because you retracted the fucking ladder. But if you must know, the last time I talked to the ex-cunt about our flat, I got angry with her being such a fucking bitch. I picked up the phone and threw it across my cabin in a similar way to how you held your computer. So that's how the Deck 13 phone ended up in your cabin, said Bob. Yeah. It was the morning of crew rounds, and I had to work fast because crew rounds had already started. Bob let out a laugh and handed me the bottle of vodka. I took a swig. How long extra do you have to stay for? I said. Just 3 more days, but I've got to explain to my mum that she has to cancel my welcome home for good party. I passed Bob back the bottle and he took a swig. This new guy has never worked on a ship before, said Bob. I want you to keep an eye on him and help him out. Bob passed me back the bottle and I took another swig. Sure beans, dude, I said as I looked at my watch. It's nearly dinner time. I'm going to go and grab a shower. Catch you later, man. I passed Bob back the bottle and walked along the gantry and climbed down the ladder. The next day came quickly. I got a page from the crew office at 7 a.m. I was hungover from last night's antics in a crew bar, which led to a cabin party. I fell out of bed and crawled over a heap of empty beer cans towards my phone. The desk was covered in more empties and fag butts. I reached for my phone and dialed up the crew office. You paged, I said, all croaky. I let them say what they were going to say. After minutes of them keep saying that the boss is here, and I told him to keep him there. I'll be there directly after a shower. I hung up the phone and went to my bathroom. Yet another express morning shower and the quick change into my uniform. I made it down to the crew office in 10 minutes flat. There was a usual pile of crew suitcases from the Waypoint crew transfers, as well as the usual group of new crew members that have never been aboard a ship before. I jumped the queue of people trying to sign on to the ship's books, and I asked for the new boss. As the office was busy, I got a standard point towards the direction roughly of where the new guy was waiting. I looked around and cast my gaze upon the only European new joiner. I sized him up and I wasn't impressed. This guy looked gangly as fuck. His clothes were wrinkled and had a bit of whiff of stale must. He also had a bad case of the shakes, as though he was in withdrawal from something. I offered the man a handshake. You must be Chris, the new PM, I said. The new guy nodded and shook my hand. It was a feeble handshake with absolutely no strength to it at all. His hands looked unwashed and he was covered in dirt patches. His fingernails had, for a better word, grot under them. I was going to need to sterilise my hands in bleach, petrol, vodka and maybe even 151 proof rum, just to make sure I wouldn't get ill. Yes, I'm Chris, he said with an assault of bad breath belching from behind his brown teeth. Grab your case and follow me, I said. We began to walk on the M1 corridor. I decided to avoid the crew areas and bring the man up to the entertainment office via the midship passenger area. I deliberately took the man up 3 decks via the stairwell to see if he was puny as his gangliness. I was right. This cunt was struggling, so I grabbed his case and ran it up 2.5 flights of stairs. Okay, it was a bit of a pissing contest. I just wanted to see if this cunt would lift what he would expect his crew to lift, and he couldn't. Once I get you to the entertainment office, which is your daily workstation, I'll take you on a tour around the ship. Chris just nodded and stayed quiet as I walked along deck 7. We passed the atrium and then we went past the restaurant and found our way to the main entrance of the theatre. We went up a few stairs and then went through the doorway. Chris looked stunned. It was as though he had never seen a theatre this big before. We walked down the tiers towards the deck 6 section of the auditorium. I said this auditorium covers deck 7 and the lower section is deck 6. Substages on deck 5 and the top of the flight tower is deck 12. Chris was lagging behind me as I didn't offer to carry his bags down the auditorium steps. And why should I? This cunt had gravity on his side. When he finally caught up to me, I walked him down the corridor towards the entertainment office. Bob was sat at his desk as we walked in. I said as I tossed in the production manager's pager, "Bob, Chris, Chris, Bob." I said as I did the briefest of introductions. Bob left his desk and shook Chris's hand. Bob had the similar reaction as I did 10 minutes ago. "Bob, do you want me to take Chris up for a tour while she catch up on the emails and all that crap?" I said. "That'd be great," said Bob. "Cool," I said. "Chris, if you leave your stuff here, by the time we get back, Bob would have had sorted you out the handover cabin." Chris followed me out the room, and I took him around the ship. I showed Chris all the venues on deck 7. Then once we left the after lounge, we took the lifts to deck 17, which was the youth centre. We left the youth centre, went to the sky bar on deck 18, and went back down to deck 15. We passed the buffet, then went through the covered pool. We then went through the next pool area, where the stage is sat above the pool. We went through to the spa reception, where I was given the all-area key card, and we went up to deck 16 forward, which is the spa's retreat area, where our team would manage the background lights and sound system. We went back to the spa reception, where I handed back the key card, and we took the lifts back down to the deck 5 forward. We passed the art gallery, then came back to the atrium. We went back to the deck 6 up in the atrium, where we passed the casino and the British pub. Then we ended back to the production office. "Here you go, Bob. He's all yours," I said as I walked out and headed back to my cabin. My pager went off as I passed backstage. I walked over to the stage left phone and looked at my pager. Shit, it was the entertainment manager. I dialed up the entertainment manager's office phone. "Hiya, man. What can I do for you?" I said. "We need to talk," he said. "I'm coming to your cabin." "Okay," I said. "My cabin steward hasn't been yet, and it's a shit tip." "Don't worry about that. It's the only closest private place to talk," said the entertainment manager. He slammed down the phone. I hung up my phone and ran to my cabin so I could try and minimise the state of my cabin before the big boss come in. I got the bin liner out of my wardrobe and just threw all the trash and fag butts into it. I tied it shut. As I was about to lob the bin bag into my bathroom, there was a knock on my door. I quickly hurled the bag into the bathroom, grabbed my deodorant, doused the room in Lynx Africa spray. I opened the door and the entertainment manager barged in and slammed the door. "Excuse the mess," I said. "Don't worry about that," said the entertainment manager. "If I was going to pull you up on your cabin smelling like last night's shenanigans in Lynx Africa, I'd pull you into my office and not come to see you down here." I nodded. "Now, this conversation doesn't exist, nor will it ever. I don't want anyone to know. Do you understand?" said the entertainment manager. Once again I nodded. "Good," said the entertainment officer. The chain of command no longer exists in the production department. From now on you'll report to me, and only me. Both Bob and I have a bad feeling about this guy. We feel that no one will listen to him, and we don't even think he will last a week. So for now, just take it easy and wait for further instructions. Bob leaves in a few days, and you'll be briefed in full just before Bob walks off the ship. Remember, this conversation never happened." The entertainment manager opened up the door and stuck his head out to have a look. The coast was clear, and he left. The next 3 days flew by without anyone seeing Bob or Chris that much. They were both in the office for most of the time conducting the handover. Bob was teaching Chris how to use the company's software, so Chris could defect technical items, defect hotel items, generate the crew schedule and band sheet, generate the IPM list and ordering equipment from the ship stores. Half an hour before Bob was due to leave the V for the last time, I was summoned to the Sky Bar. This was odd, as it was very rare that I'd step foot in there in my spare time, let alone do something work-related. I made my way up to the Sky Bar, and the room was practically empty. It was just Bob and the entertainment manager. Bob handed me a sealed A4 size envelope that was practically overflowing with paperwork. The entertainment manager spoke. "This envelope is to stay hidden in your cabin. I want you to put it in the place you managed to hide your stash of booze that people know of but crew rounds have never found," said the entertainment manager. "You're shitting me. People have actually looked for my stash," I said. "Yeah, there's a sweepstake going for the person that actually finds it. So far the prize has gone up to 200 quid, said Bob. "I'll text you the location in a week's time, when you're nowhere near the ship to claim your prize." "Out of curiosity, what would happen if it's found?" I said. "Everything except 2 bottles will be confiscated as per the fleet regulations," said the entertainment manager. "Would I get the rest of it back at the end of my contract?" I said. "No," said the entertainment manager. "Well, it's a good thing that no one knows where the stash is. This file would be safe as houses, so what is it? I said. It's my handover notes with passwords and access to programs and systems that are above your pay grade, said Bob. I'm guessing that Chris isn't expected to last long then, I said. Let's just say that he's already hit a few different people's radar that isn't us, said the entertainment manager. After 3 days and being new to the company, I said. Yeah, but we're not allowed to go into this for now, said Bob. We have told Chris that you'll be writing the band sheets, as that is your main assistant manager job apart from your technical job, said the entertainment manager. But I've never edited the sheets before, I said. Once the sheet is pulled, all you have to do is open a Word file and assign the crew tasks. I'll pay you once it's ready for edit, said the entertainment manager. Okay, cool, I said. Keep the team ticking over until something happens. If nothing happens, that would be better, but we're just thinking of plan B, said Bob. So what happens if Chris changes the passwords, I said. Don't worry about that, we've told him that the passwords can only be changed when prompted. But if he works out that he can change the passwords, we will get the changes from the IT officer who has mirrored the PM's login. We can see everything that is going on, said the entertainment manager. I don't like this, I said. Neither do we, but at the end of the day, the operation of our department is not allowed to fail, said the entertainment manager. Now get that envelope hidden and get back to work. I shook Bob's hand and wished him good luck in his new job after his long holiday and went back to my cabin to stash the file. It was going to be one of those cruises.